It was the sound that defined a generation. That little chirp, that iconic ringtone that echoed through classrooms, offices, and crowded city streets. In the early 2000s, if you had a mobile phone, chances were it was a Nokia. This is the story of how one company climbed to the very top of the world and how it all slipped away, faster than anyone could have imagined. Long before smartphones, before touchscreens and app stores, Nokia wasn't even in the phone business. It began in 1865, deep in Finland, as a paper mill. Yes, a paper mill. The company took its name from the Nokian Virta River, where it built its second mill. But from the very beginning, Nokia wasn't content to stay the same. As Finland industrialized, Nokia expanded into electricity and manufacturing. It merged with two other firms, the Finnish Rubber Works and the Finnish Cable Works, creating a conglomerate that produced everything from tires and boots to electrical cables and early telecommunication lines. Those cables connected not just factories, but people, and that connection became part of Nokia's identity. By the mid-20th century, Nokia was supplying power cables, military equipment, and early radio systems. Its technology quietly spread across Europe, reliable, rugged, built to last. When electronics began to shape the modern world, Nokia saw opportunity. They entered television, computers, and data systems. And when the first mobile networks began to form in the 1980s, Nokia was already there, building the infrastructure behind them. Piece by piece, decade by decade, a paper company turned into a tech company. And when the world moved toward communication, Nokia was ready to lead. For over a century, Nokia reinvented itself again and again. It survived wars, depressions, and industrial revolutions. It adapted to every era. By the 1980s, Nokia's leaders saw a future in communications. They built some of the first car phones, military radios, and analog handsets. When digital mobile technology emerged, Nokia moved fast. In 1992, they released the Nokia 1011, the world's first mass-produced GSM phone. And from that moment, nothing would ever be the same. The 1990s were Nokia's golden age. Its phones were tough, reliable, and simple to use. Their slogan said it all. Connecting people. The Nokia 3210, the 3310, the 1100. These weren't just phones. They were cultural icons. They could fall, crack, even bounce across the floor, and still work perfectly. Their batteries lasted for days. Their ringtone became a soundtrack to daily life. And their game, Snake, was played on millions of screens around the world. By the year 2000, Nokia controlled over 40% of the global mobile phone market. 40%. That year alone, it sold more than 128 million phones worldwide, more than any other brand in history at the time. To put that in perspective, Motorola, once the pioneer of mobile handsets, sold roughly 60 million units. Siemens, another major player, managed about 30 million. Samsung was still an up-and-comer, barely crossing 20 million. Nokia sold more phones than all three combined. Nearly half of every mobile phone sold on the planet carried that simple blue logo. Competitors could only watch. Nokia had become unstoppable, or so it seemed. But while Nokia was perfecting hardware, something else was changing. Software. In 2007, Apple unveiled the iPhone.
An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not three separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
A glass touchscreen with no physical buttons. A phone that was also a computer, a music player, a camera, and an internet device. Nokia's executives laughed. They called it a gimmick. They believed people would always want buttons. And they already had their own system, Symbian. But Symbian was aging. clunky, hard to code for. Developers struggled with it, and users tolerated it. Meanwhile, Apple built an ecosystem around the App Store. Google launched Android, open source and adaptable. And Nokia? They kept improving what they already had. The market was shifting under their feet, and they didn't even notice. Inside the company, cracks were forming. Bureaucracy slowed everything. Teams competed instead of collaborating. Management was cautious, fearful of risk. Hardware engineers and software developers were locked in constant disagreement. The hardware teams wanted to release new models quickly. More colors, sleeker shells, better cameras. But the software division, still tied to the aging Symbian system, couldn't keep up. Product managers fought over what mattered more, design or usability. Some wanted to rebuild the entire software experience from scratch. Others argued that consumers didn't care, that they just wanted more of what already worked. Meanwhile, middle managers avoided bold decisions. Every choice required multiple layers of approval. Ideas that could have led to new breakthroughs died in endless meetings. By 2005, the company had nearly a dozen overlapping departments working on competing smartphone projects, each with its own roadmap, each reluctant to share progress with the others. Nokia wasn't one company anymore. It was a collection of silos, all chasing different visions of the future. They were still selling millions of phones, but the innovation had stopped. The culture that once thrived on reinvention had grown complacent. Then, in 2010, Stephen Elop became Nokia's new CEO, the first non-Finnish leader in the company's history. He saw the truth and wrote what would become known as the Burning Platform Memo. He described Nokia as a man standing on a burning oil rig, forced to decide whether to jump into icy waters or burn where he stood. The message was clear. Nokia had to make a leap, now or never. In 2011, Nokia partnered with Microsoft. They abandoned Symbian and adopted Windows Phone as their new operating system. The plan was bold, but it was also too late. Apple and Android had already taken over. Developers had no interest in a third ecosystem. The Lumia phones looked beautiful, but the software lagged behind, and the apps people wanted simply weren't there. Customers moved on. Investors lost faith. The brand that once defined mobile communication was fading from relevance. By 2013, Nokia's mobile division was losing billions. That same year, they sold it to Microsoft for $7.2 billion. For a company that had once been worth over $300 billion, it was a stunning fall from grace. By 2014, Nokia phones disappeared from shelves. A name that had once meant innovation now became a memory. But this story doesn't end in ashes, because Nokia didn't die. The company shifted focus, returning to what it had always done best: connection. It reinvented itself once more, this time building the networks that power the internet. 5G, fiber, global communication infrastructure. Nokia became quieter, less visible, but still vital. It was no longer the phone in your pocket. It was the signal connecting it. The rise and fall of Nokia is more than a story about business. It's a story about vision and the danger of comfort. For over a century, Nokia thrived because it embraced change. It reinvented itself over and over again, until the moment it stopped. When the world moved to smartphones, Nokia hesitated. And in technology, hesitation is fatal. Their downfall wasn't because they didn't see the future. It was because they believed their present would never end. So when you pick up your smartphone today, remember that once, one company ruled this world. It connected billions of people. It set the standard for communication. And it all began with a paper mill in Finland. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. Have a thought or an opinion? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And hey, if you're still here, it means you're part of the few who stay curious. So stick around. There's a lot more coming. See you in the next one.